Let's do this. Okay. What's up, Tony? Hello from a wintry paradise. How you doing today?
Good.
Follow the signs, follow the signs. Still very happy to be out here on the road, making music and doing what I love for a living. So I thought it'd be a good time to do a rundown of the kinds of equipment that I personally use, that I bring to this gig. All right, first things first, leather bag. I bought this leather bag on the last tour in Portugal for €30. It's a steal, and it's real leather too. Sunglasses, very important. Lint roller, very important. Shoehorn, also very important. Why isn't this in wardrobe? Leather gloves. Dab kit, shaving stuff and toiletries and accessories for getting my stuff together every day. So there's that. Big iPad with pencil. This is seriously like the best invention ever for musicians, because you literally get full-size music and you can write on it. And then we have a practice pad, which I'm using the Reflex CP1 conditioning pad. One of the best practice pads I've ever used. It's got a bouncy side, and it's got a not so bouncy side, so it helps condition the hands. It's a great warm-up tool. I highly endorse this thing. Practice sticks. Really, really cool thing. This is a power ball. This is a gyroscope power ball. This helps me warm up my muscles. It also increases strength in the forearms, the wrist, the finger muscles, all the way up to the bicep, and it helps prevent carpal tunnel and tendonitis by strengthening a lot of repetitive motion muscles.
It's so powerful.
So I use this not only to warm up, but also to keep my hands healthy and in check. Oops. This stuff. Focus. There. This stuff is called Wellness Formula, and I was hip to this by Aubrey Logan, who is a PMJ star. She's a wonderful performer, and she hit me to these, and I don't tour without these because these are some of the best immune system builders I think I've ever come across. So these help tremendously. You really don't want to get sick on tour. It's not fun. Next. Cables, 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 lots of cables. Pens, lots and lots and lots of pens. You never know when you're gonna need pens. Drum key. In-ear monitors. Charlie Wilcoxon, modern rudimental swing solos for the advanced drummer. Best warm-up tools to use, best drum books to work out of. This thing is awesome. Remember to count. One of the most important things I bring with me, not just on tour, but everywhere I go in my life, is I'm an avid journaler. I use Moleskines, just standard Moleskine journals. I take this literally everywhere I go. I don't leave home without it. I often write with a Pilot Metropolitan fountain pen. I'm bougie like that. I just like the way it writes, but also I really enjoy the aspect of journaling and getting my thoughts out into physical on paper. That way I don't have to think about it later. It's really good therapy. Yeah, I have too much stuff actually.
Now what stuff do you bring?
I also bring along my laptop and hard drives for all this filming of useless information that I'm doing. And because I like filming things, I also bring along a GoPro. This is the GoPro Hero 4. And I also use a Zoom H6 for reference. And it's also higher fidelity than if I were to shoot with just a straight GoPro. Most of these I use just for a reference so that I can listen back to stuff. So if I record a gig, I use this and I spend some time listening back to my playing and getting a feel for how I'm going about certain things, and it helps me learn and it helps me get better at my craft. And can't forget about all the GoPro accessories. Jack Danny, how you feeling?
Ready to rock?
Oh boy, yay! And I almost forgot. I literally had to run back to the bus to grab it. But this is literally the most important thing I have ever brought on tour or on a trip or anywhere in the history of all existence. The Theracane. This thing is literally the best. You just sit and it gets out all your knots. It has a bunch of different knocks and things to dig into your back and get out all the knots. So like every time I'm sitting on my drum throne throughout a show, I sometimes get knots, or if I don't sit 100% right, which I am trying to work on. I'm trying to work on my posture. So a lot of us get knots, or a lot of us sit wrong, or a lot of us, because of travel, you know, it's a wear and tear on our bodies. So I leave this communal on the bus, so anybody could use it. This is literally the best thing in the whole world. So if you don't have one of these, it's just good to have, period. Everything else I keep stored in the bay, in my suitcase there, and I keep it in here because we also share this bus with 15 people, and 15 people can't keep all their things on the bus because there's just no room. So we keep it in the bay for people to come back and forth to get whenever they so need. All right, so I've already been asked about the kind of equipment that I'm using on the stage. So sitting at the kit, I have my bread and butter, which is my personal snare. This is a Yamaha Recording Custom brass 6.5 by 14. I've got it tuned somewhat high so that it has the crack, but it has the depth to be able to sustain a really fat sound getting to the crowd. And the cymbals I'm using are all Zildjian. I love the Zildjian sound. I've got Zildjian Constantinople 14-inch hi-hats. I've got a Constantinople 18-inch crash. This is a Constantinople 22-inch medium thin high ride cymbal. And then for my right hand crash cymbal, I have a 17-inch dark thin crash. So all of these cymbals are rather dark in nature. So nothing is too brilliant, nothing's too bright that cuts through the hall, except for perhaps these hats. These hats do get a little bright because they're a little heavier, which I absolutely love because most of the jazz and swing tunes we're doing are on the hi-hat. And then as far as drumsticks go, my drumstick of choice is Vic Firth. To me, there's no better drumstick. And I could also be safe to say that I do use the Vic Firth Heritage brushes. I'm a big brush guy. I'm a huge fan of playing brushes. And for drum heads, I use the Remo coated ambassadors on the toms. And for the snare drum, I use the Controlled Sound coated, which gives me a little bit thicker of a sound and a little bit more control. And for this tour, I'm also using a Power Stroke P3 Remo coated on the 22-inch bass drum. It gives a really nice thick attack, and it carries through a house just fine. So anybody who's seen us live, you know that we do some kind of a New Orleans style setup at the front of the stage. So I carry an extra snare in the back of my setup, which is equipped with the strap, so I can just hook it right around my belt, and off we go to the front of the stage. So this is the drum kit. This is what I use on a daily basis here on tour, but I do have to mention one other item that is absolutely essential, that is the most essential thing to how I play the drums, and that's these guys. So these guys are my Westone custom earplugs. I never ever play a show without wearing my earplugs, and these are not your standard earplugs. They're filtered earplugs, so they're about, what I wear are 15 decibel filters, so it's about 15 decibel dip for when I'm on stage. So that allows me to still hear the bass, it still allows me to hear the higher frequencies, and it still allows me to hear everything going on stage without any kind of interference going on. To be able to hear for years and years at a time is very, very important to me. So I take these things very, very seriously. Who let a tap dancer in the house? Another big reason why I wear these comes from the advice of the master Roy Haynes on drums. I saw him several years ago at Birdland, and I went up to him afterwards and I said, if you have any bits of advice to give the younger generation growing up in this music, what would you give them? And he said, above all else, protect your hearing, because you want to get to the age I am and still be able to hear all this beautiful music. That's why I wear earplugs.